So we have two more elements that we want to add to our master scene. We have a full page and we also have an over-the-shoulder graphic that we want to add. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our master scene. And first, let's start with our full page graphic. So I'm going to drag a new group down here and we can call this full page group. And again, I'm going to slide another group into here. I'm going to call this one design. I'm going to throw all of my elements into here. So first I'm going to start off with a rectangle. I'm just going to drag a rectangle and slide it down into my design group. I'm going to set this back in Z space a little bit just so it doesn't interfere with anything else. So let's set it back to about -5, and I'm just going to hit the screen button here to fill the screen with it. I'm going to go into the server and I'm going to throw some type of texture on here too. So I'm going to use this gray again and I'm going to drop it right on there. Doesn't matter how where I map it, I can use it linear or vertex. So again, I'll just set it to vertex. Now I'm actually going to copy this rectangle and add another element to it. So I copy it and I'm just going to bring it forward 1 in Z space to sit on top of my gray box. And I'm going to replace this gray image with this map image. What I want to do first is kind of loop this image. But before I do that, I just want to add an additional design element here. And I have this square dot texture. I'm just going to take this square dot texture and slide it into my design group. I'm then going to slide my rectangle as a sub-container of this dot texture. I'm going to click on my dot texture to go into the image editor here. I'm going to keep the mapping at linear, but above the mapping parameter is this thing called a unit. And I'm going to turn on the inheritable here. So I'm going to click on inheritable and I'm going to select number 2 here. And what that's going to do is kind of inherit this map, where the map inherits this dot texture. So as I decrease the scaling of my dot image here, you can kind of see how it's affecting my map. So I'm just going to scale this down to right about there. If I wanted to go into my rectangle and turn on the colors here, so I can add a little bit of color. So if I want to darken it or add a little bit of blue or any other color, I can do this to each corner as well. If we want to add a couple more design elements, that's fine too. So why don't we go ahead and add one more rectangle. We're going to set this one back to -3 in Z space, and we'll just kind of single scale this up here to something like that. And again, I'm going to go into the rectangle editor. I'm going to turn on my use vertex colors, and I'm just going to kind of set different colors here for each corner. So once you have your colors selected here, you can do that in addition to the alpha. So I'm just going to adjust the alpha of each corner here too, just to take it down a little bit so we don't see it completely full of color. This will allow us to see a little bit of the detail in the background. So I'm going to leave it as is. So we're just going to concern ourselves with the animation now. So I want this one to animate up from nothing. And at 30, this is where I want it to land. So I'm just going to hit set key. I'm going to rewind my timeline. Maybe I'm just going to scale this whole group down to 0 and hit set key. Here's our animation. And from here we can go into the stage and set our director up. So I'm going to go into the stage. And if I hit the little minus button, it kind of collapses every director in here. So I'm going to add a new director. I slide a new director down here. I right click and I'm going to rename it. Let's just call this one BG. So I'm going to click on my animation here and slide my full screen animation into my BG director. From here I can add my stop points again. So at 0, I'm going to click add stop. I'm going to name this stop point O. I'm going to advance my timeline to the next state, highlight the director, and click Add Stop. Here, I'm just going to name this one A. Now I'm ready to actually add my toggle. So I'm going to slide a new group down into my full page group. I'm going to rename this new group BG, which is the exact same thing as the director. I'm going to go into my built-ins, go into my plugins tab, and we're going to use the toggle again in the container folder to set up our keyframes. So I click on the toggle and I hit default keyframes, and within the stage it added these additional directors. So now I'm just going to take a snapshot of this. This is our BG, and I'll click OK, and I'm going to save our master scene. I'm going to go into our S tab and we're going to create a new call-up scene for the background. So we can call this whatever we want. I'll just call this one full page. And we'll click OK. I'm going to double click on this full page. If I want to, I can add the background image, so I'll do that now by going into my image and sliding our BG image into there. Now here we may want to add some additional design elements too, so feel free to add other design elements into here. For now, I'm just going to add a font, so I'm going to slide a font down into here, and we're going to reposition this. So I'm going to position it over. We'll set how big we want this. We can add a material to it, so we'll just use this one as black. And we can type in some text here. Let's say something like earthquake hits Pacific Rim. Again, we can scale this down. So I'm just going to copy a couple lines here. I'll hit Control C, Control V, copy a couple lines. In this case, I'm going to turn on the special and set up a text box here. And if we turn our bounding box on, we have this orange box, and we can set our width here to kind of set the space of the width and the height of our text box. Now, if you type outside of this box, it's going to get cut off. So again, if you want to add additional functionality, such as an O mode, would let them choose how many lines they want and stuff like that, you can. We're just going to leave it as is right now. We're going to go into our built-ins and add a text control. So I'm going to take our text control, drag it onto our font. Again, if we want to give it a description, we can. So I'll just call this full page text. I'm going to leave the field identifier at 1. I'm going to bring our Z space up 1. And I'm going to go into my control object and turn on transition logic. Our background scene is called master. Our state identifier was A. And our layer identifier is called BG. So before I save this, I'm going to turn off my scene settings here in the background image, make that inactive. And if I want to change the background color, again, I can, and I'm just going to hit save. We're going to add one more element to our master scene here. So we're going to go back into our scenes, open up our master scene, and this time we're going to add an over-the-shoulder graphic. So again, I'm going to add a brand new group, and we're going to call this OTS group. Again, I like to add another group in here for design, and to keep all my design elements in here. And you can essentially design this however you want. I'm going to use a couple of rectangles here, so I'm just going to slide a rectangle inside of this group. Let's scale it up a little bit, reposition it to the side. I'm going to drop this blue image on it, and I'm going to copy this rectangle. So now I have two rectangles, and I'm just going to replace this blue image with a gray. I'm going to scale this one down a little bit, and let's move our blue back in Z space so that our gray is on top of it. Now we also want a line to add some text here, so I'm going to add another object, and again we can just use a Nagi here to kind of match our other ones. I'll slide a Nagi down into my design group. I'm going to set the width here to about, let's go 250. Set our height to about 50, maybe a little bit more, something like that. I want to set my bevels down to 0 for each corner, and our stretch, let's do -25 this time. And we'll reposition this, and we'll just move it over here to the side. So again, if I want to add an image to it, I can. I'm just going to use this blue image, and I'll set the mapping here again to vertex. So now that I have this, I just need to concern myself with the animations, and I'm going to have this animate on each element separately. So first I'm going to start with my Nagi. My timeline is set to 30. This is where I want it to land. I'm going to hit set key. I'm going to rewind my timeline here to 0. I'm going to have my Nagi slide in from the right side, and I'm going to hit set key again. I'm going to do the same thing for my two rectangles. So this is where I want it to land. It's at 30. I'm going to hit set key. I'm going to rewind my timeline to 0 and move the position over to the right and hit set key again. And I'm going to do the same thing for my blue rectangle. It's at 30. This is where I want it to land. Essentially, I'm going to hit set key, rewind my timeline, move the position off to the right, hit set key. Now I can go into my stage, and I'm going to set up a new director here for this OTS. So let's drag a new director down, and I'm going to rename this OTS. I'm going to drag my 3 animations in here, and if you want to rename these, we can. So it's say OTS text bar. With the down arrow, it takes us right to the next one. We'll go OTS back 1 and OTS back 2. I'll hit OK. Now I'm going to hit the animation, and it highlights it up here in the stage. So I'm going to drag each one of these animations into my OTS director. So once I have them in this new director, I can readjust the timing of it if I want. I want this one to come in first, then this one will come in a little bit after it, and this one will land a little bit after that one. So we hit play here on that director, and they all come in a little bit different. So now that we have the animation here, and each one is offset a little bit, we need to add our stop point. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight our director. I'm going to rewind this timeline to the beginning. I'm going to click Add Stop. I'm going to name our first stop point capital O. I'm going to advance my timeline to where everything lands. I'm going to highlight the director, click on Add Stop, and I'm going to name this one capital A. Now I'm ready to add my toggle group. So I'm going to go add a new group here. This group needs to be called the exact same thing as the director. So I'm going to type in OTS. And we'll go into built-ins, into the container folder, and add the toggle. So I drag the toggle onto my OTS group, click on the toggle, and hit default keyframes, and it adds the animation here. So last step before I save this, I'm just going to go into the server, into the I tab, and take a snapshot for some placement of this. I'm going to take a snap here, just name it OTS, and hit OK. I'm going to save my master scene, go into the S tab, and we're going to create a new call-up scene. We'll call this one OTS. I'm going to double click on my OTS to open it. So first thing, I'm going to go into my scene settings, grab my OTS image, and drag it into the background image here. Then I'm going to add a new group, and I'm also, in this case, going to add another rectangle here. So I'm just going to slide a rectangle inside of this group, and I'm just going to kind of place this rectangle where I want it call up. So I'm just going to kind of place it around here, scale it up, and I'm not too concerned with how it matches up here. I want it to hang over the edge a little bit, so I'll just do something to this degree right here. I'm going to move this rectangle up in Z space 1, and I'm also going to add some type of image to this. So in our image tab, we have a picture of an earth here. I'm just going to drag this onto my rectangle. And if I go into the image here, it says that it's 500 by 500. It's set to linear, and it matches up pretty well. So every image that we want to use for an OTS should be a 500 by 500 image. That way, whenever we swap it out, it will match directly onto this rectangle and always be mapped proportionately. So I'm also going to add some text here. So I'm going to drag a font down in here underneath the main group, and we're going to position this up 1 or 2. We're going to scale this down. We can add some text into here, and we'll say earthquake again. So we'll type something like that in. We'll reposition it over the text box here. If we need to adjust the leading and the kerning, we can come into our leading and kerning here, kind of squish it down if need be. Again, if you need to add this special box for it to cut off, or you want to use the max size for the text to kind of limit how much text they can put in there, that's fine. So we're just going to leave it pretty much as is. And again, if you want to add additional design elements such as shadows and stuff like that, you can certainly add that too. We're going to go into the built-ins and add our control functions. We want to be able to change the text here, so I'm going to drag a control text on here. The field identifier we'll leave as 1. We can change the description here, say OTS text. We also want to be able to swap out the image, so I'm going to drag the control image onto our rectangle. I'm going to click on the control image. We're going to make this field identifier 2. Then I'm going to click on my control object. So we click on our control object. We turn transition logic on. Our background scene is master. Our state identifier is A. Our layer identifier is OTS. And before I save this, I'm just going to go into the scene settings, turn our background image off, and we have our color here set to blue. And I'm just going to hit save. And now we're at the point where we can go into Trio and test it again. So once in Trio, I'm going to highlight my full page and my OTS, and I'm going to import these into my playlist. So we have our elements imported now. If we minimize this and run these, we can see how they react. So I'll do a direct take on the full page, and we can take all these other things out. So let's do a direct take out on all these other elements. And we'll run this full page by itself. We do a direct take out, goes out. We do a direct take, full page comes in. Let's take the OTS out. Full page, do a direct take out. It goes out. Full page, do a direct take, and it comes in. So let's take it out and try the OTS, and we do a direct take on the OTS. Now the one problem again that you see is that we never turn the single line off, so it's creating the double line text into a single line. So we need to go back and fix that as well. But when we do a direct take out, it takes everything else out. So the one last adjustment we need to do is come into our OTS scene, go into our text control, and turn our single line off. We're going to resave it and go back into Trio and test it again. So in Trio, I just right click on here and I'm going to do a re-import. And when we run this OTS again, we do a direct take, and that comes in. See, the full page comes in. We'll run that again. And if we run through and do a direct take out on everything, we'll start fresh and see how everything reacts from the beginning. So once everything's out, we can come back here and start fresh and do a direct take on everything. So we start with our lower third in our first state. If we want to go to our third state of the lower third, we just do a direct take. That looks fine. We try the logo. It comes in. It's fine. The time, do a direct take on that. That comes in. Our topic, we'll do a direct take on that. Our OTS, we'll try that. Now the two line shows up, and we do a direct take out on that, and we'll bring the full page up. So a direct take on that, and that comes up as well. Now you see the problem here too is that when we do a direct take on the OTS, when the full page is up, how it overlaps. So we don't ever want to run the full page along with the OTS. So we would need to set up combination pages of each one of these templates to try and never have that happen. So we need to set up combination pages so that the OTS and the full page are never on screen at the same time. So this will be the next step going forward in transition logic.